and welcome to A Cat in the Garden. Today, if you couldn't tell by the thumbnail, Nutmeg and I are going to be talking about what I think is one of the biggest garden fails of my spring crops. And you might not think it's a fail, but in a sense it is. And I'll sort of explain why, but it has to do with the crop in front of me. Saffron decided she wanted to say hi too. Nutmeg just jumped off my lap. But she does come outside with me now, so you might hear her meowing in this video quite a bit. You might see Nutmeg, just a little bit of both of them, but I'm going to bring you a little bit closer so that you can see what's going on with this crop in front of me. In case you couldn't tell, these are my beets, and you might think the fail is that I planted them close together, but actually you can grow beets close together because they will just kind of push out in different directions. For me, the biggest fail is the fact that they are huge. I really do not want them to be that big. The thing with beets is they will act a little bit like carrots in that if they get too big, they'll actually get really fibrous and woody on the inside, so they're not as good for eating or pickling or any of the things that you want to do with beets that they normally would be. I mean, some of them are still a good size, but I am extremely worried about the ones that are this size here, which is why I am considering them a bit of a fail. But on the plus side, I have been eating the greens all winter and spring long. It's getting a little bit too much pest pressure at this point to be eating the greens, which is why I'm going to be ripping up a lot of these beets with you guys here today. I've got a bunch of my equipment with me now, so I don't think they're going to need too much coaxing to get out of the dirt here, but I do have an anthill that I did just disturb, so I'm going to try to be very careful. It's in the corner here, but I'm going to be careful to not get bit by any ants because the ants in Texas are a whole different level of just terrible. So I'm going to try, I have two different types of beets in here, and I'll talk about each one as I pull them up. This is the first one. Oh my gosh, guys. Look at this beet. This is huge. This is like bigger than Nutmeg's head. He just walked away, or I would do a size comparison for sure. But this is the Golden Boy beet. This one is from Botanical Interests. I'll do a little bit of sort of a growing review of each variety too, since we are already here. This one grew really well, the ones that I got in the ground. It did grow slower than the other beet variety that I had, and I don't mind that it grew slower, honestly, because it was nice to have a fast growing beet as well as a slow growing one, but the germination rate of these seeds were not as good, so I was a little bit disappointed with that. But overall, the greens tasted really good all season. There's really nice color on this beet, a decent size, so hopefully it won't be too fibrous. I guess that will be the final test, but honestly, that's not bad. That's really round. There's a little bit of cracking here, which does have me concerned that it's going to be fibrous on the inside, but for the first one, that's pretty big. Next to it, I have a slightly smaller one, so I'm going to get that out of the ground. That needed almost no coaxing, which was awesome. This is probably what you want in terms of the size of your beets. This is much better. I feel like this one has one slit up top here, so maybe it is slightly too big. I don't know, we'll have to see. I was feeling pretty good about the size of this one, but now I don't know. I love the color though. That is just really nice to look at overall, so that's pretty. But the thing about beets too, I did have one a few weeks ago that I pulled out that was really small. You can eat them at just about any size. A lot of the root veggies sort of act that way, where you can eat them when they're a little too small. So I just wanted one beet for my salad for dinner, and I just picked it and I just had it with my salad. It was enough for just me, and I had put the greens in there as well because they were nice and tender and small. I do prefer the tender, smaller beet greens, like when they're first popping up, the new leaves, versus the older leaves like these. Let me see, I'll just pick one here to sort of show. So this is what an older leaf is gonna look like, and then these like tiny ones, the really tender greens, those I really prefer. Just like for eating purposes, I think they taste a lot better. The stems aren't as like woody and almost like celery when they get really big, so I prefer the greens. But I think I have, no, you know what? There's one more golden beet in there, but it is kind of small. So I think I'm gonna leave it just because I know the next variety of beets, this one is going to be much crazier, and I feel like the fewer beets I have to pull up right now, the better. All right, so I don't know which direction I'm quite going to go with these beets. I guess maybe I'll just start with the really big ones over here. This is where all those ants were though. Oh, I just gotta be quick, I think. Okay, we got one. Oh no, there was a little one next to it. Okay. So, I mean, I'll just eat this one. We might have salads again tonight. So this is like a really super tiny baby beet, so I might just eat that. But this is a decent size. I feel like not as big as I'm expecting. When I was little, growing with my mom, there was one year we grew beet. It legitimately was bigger than my head, and it was crazy. I think we weighed it in at like 4 pounds. It was one of the biggest beets I've ever seen in my life, but this is not bad. This one also has no cracking, whereas the golden beets cracked. So this is the Chioggia beet from Baker Creek Seeds, also known as Rare Seeds. It is basically like a candy cane in a beet. If you cut this open, it's going to be striped like a candy cane on the inside, white and pink stripes, more of like a dark pink typical beet color. I do really like the greens from this one. They just stay small and tender longer than the golden boy beet. But I haven't eaten one of those yet, and I have eaten one of these and I really liked it. I've actually eaten 2. So I am a little bit more biased toward these right now just because I've eaten more of them. They have more greens on them overall, and have just performed really well in a very mild winter climate that we've had in Texas. And I just had almost no problems with germination with them, and they really didn't mind growing close together at all, which is another bonus. I'm just gonna go ahead and pull up a few more of these. I really don't even have to use my trowel at all, which is nice. And so far I haven't been bitten by any ants, but we'll see. This one, again, no cracking. It has a lot more of the tender leaves. I think I will, because a lot of these older leaves have just like pest issues. Spider mites are a big problem with beets in the warmer months. They also have had some caterpillar pest pressure, things like that. So I'm not gonna eat the ones that are really banged up, the leaves like that. So I'll just take them off here and compost them later. I will try to use up the smaller beet greens. I really like to saute them. That's my preferred way of eating them, but they also are really great in salads. I just like to saute them like you would spinach, honestly, as like a side dish. So I will go through and trim these up. I do have some scissors, so I might as well do that while we're out here. And they're just, when the leaves are bigger like this too, the stalks basically are like celery or rhubarb. Like, they're just not what I want in a beet green. I really like the tender leaves if I'm just going to eat the leaves. And the nice thing about growing them for the leaves too is I was eating beet greens all winter long, even before the beets were even close to this size, just because they're so good. Now these, I think I don't really have any. I think this one was gonna bolt, actually. It looks like it was gonna flower. Okay. I mean, I don't need more seeds, but that's interesting. So that is another plus and another crop that people don't think about when they grow all of these sorts of root vegetables, is a lot of the times you can eat the greens. A popular thing that people I know like to do is carrot top pesto with carrot greens. They are also edible. Radish greens are technically edible. Like, a lot of these brassicas, you can eat the greens, and it's totally okay and really healthy for you. So that's something I like to do, and it's just another way that you're getting like free, I see it as free food. That might just be girl math talking, but if you are getting a bonus crop that you didn't think you were gonna get, I just would say that's free, you know? Like, that's just a bonus. And if you pay for beet greens at the supermarket, they're typically pretty expensive. And I'm like, this is a byproduct. So I'm just gonna take my free beet greens and run with them. Cut that one off too. This is definitely, so far, the biggest beet out of the bunch. The color on it is just gorgeous. I love this so much. I'm really excited to actually wash these off so we can just see how beautiful they really are. I've got a few more in here. Those were the first bunch. I feel like they all grew together in little bunches. This one is so oddly shaped. Oh, I love it though. It's fun. And they do start, once they get really mature, like popping off greens in lots of different places. I don't really know the exact reason why they do that, but it just means you can get a few more tender greens out of it sometimes. This one has quite a few popping up right now, but it's just really funny looking. Okay, that's all right. That's okay. This one is not huge. I probably could have left it in the ground if we're being honest. Oh, but it's got some spots of like rotting. So maybe it is good that I took it out. But I guess I'll use this time to talk about what I am going to do with these, just because they are a lot more than I expected out of the beets. I mostly grow them for the greens because I like them. I don't love them, and my husband doesn't like them at all. So I really couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with them all winter. I was like, I don't even know how I'm gonna eat these. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is the biggest one, and there are beet greens coming out of all directions, but that is the beet. Okay, this is getting close to like the mammoth beet that my mom and I grew when I was a kid, but wow. That is insane. This is what I'm talking about when I say I failed, because this was in the ground so much longer than it should have been. But I am going to try and make beet chips out of them. I don't know if you've ever seen like the vegetable chips that are popular at the grocery store. I used to buy them all the time growing up, and one of the components of those is, actually, I think I'm going to just cut all of these off. One of the components is beets, and I really liked them as a kid. I still will buy them occasionally if we're going on a road trip and we need snacks. Try not to keep snacks in the house in general, but for road trips, I feel like snacks are just necessary. So I do like those a lot. Sometimes I will still buy them. And I was thinking, well, why can't I just make my own? I still have a bunch of sweet potatoes from the harvest that we did together back in December. And my husband and I have been struggling to find new uses for them every week. We try to at least eat some per week, and we're just running out of ideas. I mean, I have a few that are actually sprouting, and I am going to use them for starting new sweet potatoes for this year, so hopefully I don't have to purchase any myself. But I don't know, I think it'd be really cool if I made my own vegetable chips. I do have a dehydrator that I bought last year, and I've just never done that before. So I thought, well, if these beets are gonna be kind of tough to cook with, maybe if I dehydrate them into chips, they'll be better. Got a couple more in here. This one I might have to dig out because it's just, it doesn't even look like there is a beet. This one came up looking weird. It doesn't even look like there's a beet in there. Oh, there is. It just didn't grow properly at all. This one's so small for the amount of foliage, and the foliage was very green. Like there wasn't any of the like pink that you would typically see on the bottom. So I was watching this one quite a bit, so it just didn't grow right. And that's okay. I can't have them all be monster beets, otherwise I would go insane. I would have to give some away because my husband and I just don't eat beets like that. Okay, this one has a lot of dirt attached to it. I feel like I've just covered this entire area with beet greens. I mean, maybe I'll just mulch it out, turn it into compost. This one's like very sticky with dirt. Okay, just gonna have to wash everything. And then I've got 2 more beets in here, but they don't look that big. And I have a lot of beets in here. That's a lot. So maybe I'll leave them I feel like what's the worst that's gonna happen? They're gonna get a little bit bigger. And then there's a few small beets over here, but I think I'm just gonna leave those be because they're definitely not at a size where they're too big, and I can just gradually put them in salads. So yeah. Oh, I just don't know. This is like a good size beet right here. I think I'll leave it. I think I'm gonna leave it. Okay, so I'm gonna go wash these off and then we'll see how pretty they look after. What do you think of the beets? Hello. I'll let you say hi before I turn the water on because you're not gonna like it. Oh, you just stepped on one. Do you care? Do you care about the beets at all? No, you just wanna say hi? You just wanna say hi? That's okay. Oh, you sweet girl. Yeah, it's okay. You can say hi. Look, here's a smaller one. No, not at all interested. Okay, I'm gonna turn on the water then. Let's get this going. Those beets were absolutely crazy. I got them all cleaned up. So here they are. They're gorgeous. They're so pretty, but like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm so overwhelmed. I mean, I purposely didn't want like a whole field of beets, so this might not look like a lot to some people, but for me, with people that aren't the biggest fans of beets in the world, this is a lot. I don't know, I just don't like wasting, and I really love beet greens, so I wanted to grow beets anyway. I think they could be really fun as beet chips because I do really like them, and I'm hoping that'll be a way to get my husband to eat them because he does like veggie chips too. I don't think he realizes that there are beets in there. Maybe he'll try it. He's really good about being open to trying things, and maybe if they're homemade, they'll just be better, you know what I mean? I do love the taste of homegrown beets so much better than store-bought, so that is a big difference as well. And I'm kind of excited about it. It's just another new thing to try, you know? I like being as sustainable as possible and just trying new things, so it's just gonna be a lot of fun, and it'll be a really nice project to have at the house, and hopefully they will taste really good. Fingers crossed that they won't be too fibrous. If they are too much, I might have to compost them, but I'm thinking that there are some that are pretty good size in here, especially these. These are definitely not too big by any means. There is a little cracking in this one, but I think these will be fine. They're almost like perfect eating size beets, so I suspect they'll be fine. The big one here, this is not going to be fine. I'm just mentally preparing for that. I mean, I think nutmeg's actually behind me. For scale, that's a pretty big beet. What do you think? Yeah, you're more interested in them than Saffron was. He loves checking out the produce, especially the root vegetables, but like, he's a big boy, and this guy sizes up to him quite nicely. Here you go. You can run off now. Good boy. But yeah, this one I'm just expecting. I think the striping in this is going to be very cool. Just thinking about it, like this one's gonna look the coolest, but I think it's going to be the most inedible out of all of them. Even more inedible than the golden beets because they're just like, they have a lot of cracking, so I'm expecting them to not be as edible as well, but we'll see. I'll still attempt to dehydrate and turn into chips as many of them as I can. I bought a mandolin just for this purpose, so say a prayer for my fingers that I don't lose any because I've never used one before, but it'll be fun. It'll be an experiment, and when I cut these open, I'll show you guys because they just look so cool on the inside. Even the small ones, they just look super cool. So I'm hoping to get to this maybe tonight, tomorrow. As long as I can get them like prepped in the dehydrator, it'll take a couple days, but then I don't have to worry about it. Like it's all done. The dehydrator just does it for me. So that's really fun too. So that is it for our beet harvesting video. Is it a fail? Is it not a fail? Let me know in the comments if you would think that this was still a successful harvest for beets. I'm thinking 50-50. I think half of the beets actually came out a lot better than I thought. They were just deceivingly large, I think, on top of the soil, but then there was almost nothing underneath. So I think it actually turned out okay. Maybe not a total fail. But if you like this video, make sure to give Nutmeg and I here a thumbs up down below and subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here on the channel. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.